Hey everyone, Golden Ninja 3000 here again. Today I'm comparing the minifigure-scale versions of the 1966 Batmobile on the left and the 1989 Batmobile on the right. The 1966 Batmobile was released as a regular $30 set in April of 2021, while the set on the right was released in November of 2019, but it was only available as a free gift with purchases of the direct-to-consumer 1989 Batmobile the same month. This one sold out really fast. A lot of people couldn't get it, but it is valued at the same $30 price, so this is basically a perfect comparison. Both of these vehicles come on a very similar stand. It's actually almost exactly the same. The biggest difference is that on the 1966 version, you do have this kind of axle pin as well as a little circular plate to hold it in place better. This version tends to fall off pretty easily, as you can see, so I'm glad that those changes were made. But aside from that, you've got like the same kind of pentagonal design. The stickers for the plaques are very similar. And I do really love those, especially with like the grayed out versions of their Batmans as well as the different logos. And aside from that, there's not really any difference. I will say this one does tend to pop off more easily though, because you can see there's a slight build difference like going into the plaque. And so I think that this one does tend to just come off the stand easier than the 1966 version. As for the cars themselves, there's a much more dramatic size difference between the two than even I was expecting. The 1989 version is much, much bigger. I don't exactly remember the piece counts on these, but I think that they were pretty similar, like high 300 pieces. This one's just a lot larger, especially towards the rear. And that's just down to a difference in how they're designed in universe. This one is meant to be very sleek, while this one is meant to be a little bit more intimidating. So you can see that back here, it really just bulks up with a lot of building around the back tires, as well as these big wings. Whereas the 1966 version kind of narrows down even more with like the slanted areas. Both of these sets came with stud shooters. However, I removed the ones from the 1966 Batmobile so that it could just be a display model. And that's a feature that I wish LEGO had introduced on the 1989 version, because I omitted the minifigures from this video since there were no minifigures with this one, which is why it's confusing to me why stud shooters were included, because this isn't really something you play with. It was only available with the purchase of a very large display piece. So I would have been happier with just no stud shooters included at all. That being said, it's not really hard to just, pick those up and put down a couple more tiles. So it's not a huge deal that that wasn't like an actual feature with the set. I think the shaping on both of these cars is pretty much perfect, for minifigure scale versions. I really love the 1989 design, but I also quite like the 1966 because of that black and red color scheme. I think the biggest problem with the 1989 version in terms of accuracy is that these kind of intakes on the side are supposed to be black. At the time that this set was released, the barrel piece hadn't been made in black since like the 1990s. However, like 6 months later, the barrel came in black in the Pirates of Barracuda base set. So you could just switch that out for more accuracy, but the 1966 version, as far as I can tell, is fairly accurate. I think the most egregious inaccuracy is just kind of how the archway in the middle isn't like perfectly smooth. There is that like kind of lip on one side, but I also haven't really studied the 1966 show, so please chime in the comments if there are like a lot more inaccuracies that I'm just not seeing. A nice feature of the 1989 version is that at the rear, you do have a flame coming out. I always like it when LEGO includes flames like that. There's no such thing on the back of the 1966 version, and if you've seen my 1966 comparison video, I don't like this intake piece as much. I do prefer the larger intake on this set. And sorry, you can really see all the dust back here. But the 1966 set does have a one-up over the 1989 because you do have a trunk here. There's no such trunk on this vehicle. The 1989 version does have an awesome play feature though. If you like roll the car forward, the flame will spin. That is a feature brought back from the other $30 Batmobile that released in 2019 that was kind of similar to this one. So I really like that feature. And I just really love these $30 Batmobile sets in general, especially if they're going to keep coming on display bases like that. I just think that it's a really great inclusion. And lastly, let's take a look at interiors. The 1966 Batmobile is open air with some stickered consoles and the Bat phone in there. The 1989 set does have kind of like a flip up windshield. And there is a printed piece in there. I actually kind of forgot about that, as well as a steering wheel. But I think there's definitely more detail in the 66 version, and I do appreciate that. I don't love the exposed like hollow studs in here. I wish that those had been covered up with tiles. Well, that pretty much does it for this comparison video. I just wanted to show you guys how, they look together. Like I said, the 1989 version was much larger next to the 1966 than I was expecting, which is kind of surprising considering that, again, they would have been priced the same if this was made into an actual set instead of just a gift with purchase. I think it's very sad that this was a gift with purchase. I'm glad that the 1966 Batmobile wasn't, but this one is just such a great rendition of the 1989 Batmobile that it's just a shame it wasn't more widely available. On the flip side, though, I really want a direct-to-consumer version of the 1966 car. I quite like, actually, direct-to-consumer large vehicles for DC, even though vehicles can get super annoying in the superheroes range. The DC direct-to-consumer sets are always just amazing in their detail, and so I would really I'd like LEGO to continue with that. We are getting a direct-to-consumer tumbler again this year, along with a minifigure-scale tumbler for like $40. So I really want LEGO to keep making these giant $200, $250 Batmobiles. And then I also want them to keep making these like $30 to $40 Batmobiles. And I think that they should all come with this kind of plaque. That is the dream scenario. So I really hope that, this style of plaque continuing between the two sets, kind of foretells more coming. But that's it for today. So don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and check out my website, goldenninja3000.com. I'll see you guys with more videos soon. Bye for now.